Personally, I would say the Year of Shadow was a massive success. Our favorite Edgy Hedgie got some well overdue time in the limelight, and we got several great projects from it. And Sega finally stopped treating Shadow like Vegeta at home, so I think it's a pretty safe bet to say Sega's gonna do something like this again very soon. Especially with the ridiculous roster of these funny anthropomorphic creatures that aren't furries. It would be downright foolish not to do this whole Year of the Character thing again. It would also be insanely foolish to try and do a Year of Marine. Sorry to all 3.5 Marine superfans. See, there are a multitude of reasons why the Year of Shadow worked out the way it did, and honestly, there are plenty of characters who I think this type of campaign wouldn't work for. But who are these characters? Why can't they get their own year? What makes them so incapable of having their own campaign? Why are you asking so many questions? Just let me tell you, God. Alright, so first things first. What makes one of these campaigns work? The Year of Shadow was a resounding success, but why? Well, looking at the Year of Shadow, I think I could set 3 criteria for a campaign. Number 1. The character has to be cool and interesting enough to carry a celebration. Number 2. They should be able to sell a project just with their name. And number 3. The character needs some character reworking / correction, or needs some time in the spotlight. Obviously Shadow, being the second most popular character in the franchise, and having some of the coolest abilities like his Chaos abilities, and Rocket, they're Rocket shoes, not air shoes. Does this look like air to you? Focus. His Rocket shoes, and being the character with probably the most fleshed out and focused upon backstory, he was more than popular, interesting, and cool enough to carry a celebration. And again, he's the second most popular character in the franchise, so he could easily sell a game with just his name. As a matter of fact, he has now, twice. You could argue that, oh, he had to be paired with one of the best Sonic games to ever— Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely would have bought Shadow Generations by itself. Let me put it this way. I have 10 hours in Shadow Gens, while I'm still yet to beat Sonic Gens. The proof is in the black and red pudding. That was a terrible way to put that. Oh my, why would I say it like that? Finally, Shadow at that point was in desperate need of character intervention. He basically became his Boom counterpart, which was basically all the memes parodying what Shadow actually was. So I guess Shadow became a parody of himself. But even then, it felt like he was parodying that version of himself. It got so bad. He was completely absent from Sonic Frontiers, as well as Lost World, if you want to count that. Barely showed up in Forces, no, we aren't really counting Episode Shadow, and in the Metal Virus arc of the IDW comics, he was taken out of the story with expediency. Yeah, Shadow needed some time in the spotlight. I think these 3 criteria are what made the Year of Shadow so successful. Granted, they aren't all absolutely necessary, there are always exceptions to everything, but I think it's a good starting point. Alright, now let's get on to the controversial part. Obviously, one of, if not the biggest projects of the Year of Shadow was Pete, or as it's more commonly known as, the third Sonic movie. So of course, when the discussion of another campaign happening arose, people's first thought was to give the next movie's headline character a year to themselves. Amy Rose. Yay. Okay, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Amy could not carry a year by herself. Looking at the criteria, she literally does not meet a single one. First, I don't think she has anything interesting about her or her character to warrant such a celebration. Amy is definitely popular, but that's far from enough to get an entire 365-day celebration in your name. As well, be honest, are you buying a $60 game about Amy going around the world and spreading love like a freaking hippie? No. No, you're not. If you said yes, you're a freaking liar. She doesn't have an interesting backstory that can be expanded on. She doesn't represent something beyond a very, very, very vague idea of love. The whole tarot card thing is freaking stupid. I have no idea why they want that to be a major personality trait of hers, and honestly, Amy thrives best when she's with the rest of Team Sonic or other characters. People are excited to see Amy in the next movie, but that's just because either they've been conditioned to start frothing at the mouth whenever a female character is introduced in anything, or to see her interactions with other movie characters. It sounds like hyperbole, but literally all the excitement I've seen for Amy being in the next movie is, I'm so glad we're finally getting a female character, or I'm so excited to finally see Son Amy be canon. Now, if they make her a really interesting character in the movie and add more to her, then I have no doubt she could carry her own movie or show, but Game Amy? Absolutely not. I also don't think she's in desperate need of a new appearance or a character rework. Amy has never had much of a problem with lack of appearances, and she even got to be playable in Frontiers. Albeit in a DLC added months later, but it still happened. You could try and argue that she's been mischaracterized as of late, that she's too tame and not annoying enough, but guys, we upgraded. We are not going back to 90s/2010s Amy. We can never go back. So, I'm sorry to say, but I think her year truly would be uninteresting. The year of Amy. Great, I just ticked off all the feminists. However, Amy Rose is not the only headliner for the next Sonic movie.
Sonic Dead or Alive is mine.
That's right, Metal Sonic, baby! I am not kidding when I say I was like a child on Christmas morning when I saw him in that post-credit scene. I just think Metal Sonic is so cool, guys. But is he cool enough to carry a year of celebration? His robotic evil duplicate of the main protagonist, what do you think? He also has some interesting themes they could explore. We all know about the infamous Metal virus scene in the IDW comics, but what if we took that further? Really explore Metal's existential crisis of knowing he isn't the real Sonic. He can never be the real Sonic. Or just make him Neo again so he can be comically evil. As well, there are so many cool games you can make with Metal. Maybe a game where you played as a villain. Maybe it could be like Shadow the Hedgehog, where there are multiple endings, where you can choose to be a good guy or a bad guy. Maybe they can make Metal Generations, or Frontiers episode Metal, perhaps his own comic run. All this to say, Metal could very well carry his own project. As for the final criteria, that one is a little up in the air. However, this is my video, so only my opinion matters. And I say Metal still fills out the final criteria. First of all, I would say, considering that he's supposed to be Sonic's ultimate rival besides Shadow, he hasn't shown up nearly enough in the recent past, and even when he does, like in Forces, he doesn't have nearly an important enough role. As well, he's kinda been on a losing streak. Now, you might be thinking, he's been on a losing streak since his first appearance. Well, random hypothetical person, you would be correct. I don't think Metal has been actually successful in anything he does. A track record to rival Vegeta's. However, when did I say you could bring up facts and logic into this argument? For your crimes against the motherland, I will be banishing you to the Shadow Realm. Nah! Back on topic, while it is true Metal has never really been a winner, it was at least a threat, someone to be taken seriously. After all, he's supposed to be Sonic's greatest obstacle. However, as of late, he's been getting shafted harder than I did in the most recent Legends Fest, and I didn't get a single new unit. Quick update, as of recording this, that is no longer true thanks to the Happy New Year's 1000 Chrono Crystal. This is so random, I don't know if any of you actually care, but like, I got Janemba. I now have Janemba at 7 stars, thanks to the new, 1000 Chrono Crystals New Year summons, Legends Limited guaranteed, so, woohoo! And I finally got Android 13, so, can't complain. Wish I had some of the Daima units, though. Anyways, back on track. In Forces, his boss fight doesn't even get a whole level to itself. They give freaking Zavik more respect than Metal. I don't even hate Zavik that much, but that's ridiculous. He didn't even show up in Frontiers, and in Color's Ultimate, if you even want to count that, he's relegated to a side mode. He lost to Surge in the IDW comics, and all of us Metal fans remember the Bat Cycle incident. So, I'd say without a shadow of a doubt that a year of Metal would be a fantastic choice to coincide with Sonic 4. The last character I want to talk about is Silver the... Yes, he deserves his own year. Sega, please give him... Okay, I should still explain, even though I basically don't need to, why Silver not only deserves his own year, but at this point, he needs this. I mean, he's kinda underutilized. He has a lot of cool material to use. His fans are starving. Sega, I see you trying not to laugh. That's disrespectful as crap, man. First, do you realize how interesting and amazing it would be to have a game set in Silver's future world? Why do you think you've seen a crazy amount of concept art, music, etc., for a potential Silver game? Or a teaser for a movie of sorts. Now, those animated teasers are really something else. It'd basically be Crisis City in 06, but the entire time, and actually good. Hopefully. It doesn't even have to be a ruined future either, there could simply just be a new threat in his time. But even that doesn't need to happen. Something as simple as Sonic X Silver Generations would be amazing as well. Silver could so certainly sell an entire project himself that it's shocking we haven't gotten anything like that yet. I already mentioned how interesting seeing Silver's world would be, but as well, we could also do things like delve into where he's from, how he discovered time travel since 06 retconned itself, why he has his powers, so many different options. And his character right now?
I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist.
No, the frick you are not! Yeah, somehow Sega is incapable of writing Silver now, because we either get that characterization or we get stupid Silver. What we need is a happy medium, and if we can get Shadow fixed, I don't see why the same cannot happen to Silver. He's an optimist, no realist qualities. He's naive, but not stupid. He has a little bit of Golden Retriever energy. Not a lot, just a little. He's Silver the Hedgehog after all, not Gold the Hedgehog. So, for the next campaign, I definitely think either Metal Sonic or Silver should be who they go with. There are definitely more characters who could get a year to themselves, but if you want me to go over them, then maybe hit the like button. Alright, I suck at outros, so go watch some of these videos. Okay, bye.